Newsom also continues to mimic Trump's style. He's now accusing Joe Rogan of having something he calls CDS.
What do you think he's talking about?
I don't know. I barely watched what you
The perception of it, the perception of California, the perception of some of the problems that face the state, and maybe how some of the people around the country might think.
I think there's a California derangement syndrome, and he's part of it. I mean, I think people are obsessed with focusing on what's wrong with the state and not what's right with the state.
Gavin Newsom just did the unthinkable. He actually clapped back at Joe Rogan. Yeah, the governor of California versus the king of podcasts. Who could have seen that coming? It's like watching a showdown between a hair gel commercial and a protein shake ad. Rogan called him out, and Newsom's ego couldn't resist striking back. But here's the twist. Now the internet's roasting both of them. Wait until you hear what sparked this political brawl.
Told the Los Angeles Times Panera would not be exempt from the law. The spokesperson also denied a claim, the Bloomberg piece, which cited sources close to the matter, that Newsom pushed for an exemption that applies to businesses that bake bread and sell it as a standalone item, calling the report absurd. So is it a fake story?
Or is it something that they
might have corrected
course quickly? Yeah.
Yeah. Roll up to the top. So where's the initial report? Let's find the initial.
Before we move on, hit that like button and subscribe because you definitely don't want to miss this one. Gavin Newsom finally lost his cool. After months of acting like he doesn't even know who Joe Rogan is, despite Rogan's face being everywhere in memes, podcast clips, and Reddit threads, the California Golden Boy couldn't take it anymore. The guy who styles his hair like a Kennedy and runs the state like a Netflix algorithm finally decided it was time to fire back.
The governor gave this creepy speech where he was talking about speculators coming in and talking about what to do with the land of all these homes that have been burnt down.
We're dealing with a myriad of issues. I was just talking to Josh Green, the governor down in Hawaii, who had some ideas around some land use concerns he has around speculators coming in, buying up properties.
While it's still only 6% contained. And he did this little dance like, I've been talking with the governor of Hawaii about what to do. We've got some ideas. A speculator, we're going to have some meetings.
And the like. So we're already working with our legal teams to move those things forward. And we'll be presenting those in a matter of days, not just weeks.
And not with calm political poise. Oh no. Newsom came out swinging like a Beverly Hills influencer, defending her favorite skincare brand on Instagram Live. It all began, as these things always do, with Joe Rogan doing what he does best, saying something blunt, unfiltered, and guaranteed to spark an emotional meltdown in at least 3 state capitals.
California Governor Gavin Newsom is challenging Joe Rogan to have him as a guest on his podcast, The Joe Rogan Experience. It started, of course, when Rogan took shots at the governor, saying he hasn't done a good job running California and wouldn't make a very good president.
Comments made their way to Newsom, who has been governor of California for 6 years. He responded by using the chicken emoji to say that Rogan is too chicken to have me on his show. That's a quote. And he went to list on his state's accomplishments, saying, quote, California is the 4th largest economy in the world, #1 in manufacturing, farming, and new business starts, #1 for tech and venture capital investments, #1 in public higher education. I could continue. Invite me on anytime.
Rogan made a comment about California, the chaos, the homelessness, the crime, the taxes, and of course, the governor's perfectly styled hair. Normally, Newsom's team would handle it with the usual PR spin. A polite statement, a vague mention of ongoing efforts, maybe a charity photo op at a recycling center. But this time, Gavin decided he'd had enough of the bald guy in his Texas podcast cave, calling him out like a substitute teacher trying to put the cool kid in his place.
Expensive. It's too expensive to leave versus what you would save and the regulations that you wouldn't have to go through and all the bullshit with all the permits and all that. What California does is overregulate everything. They get as much government involved as possible. They suck as much tax money out of you as possible. And then they still leave the place a mess. They still have homeless people everywhere. It's still a disaster. It's still a woke shit show of virtue signaling at every level of the government. Still. Like no course correction at all. They're going further and further into La La Land. And you're like, gee.
Then Gavin fired back, and wow, it was dramatic. Picture a man practicing his comeback lines in front of a mirror, straightening his tie and muttering, "You've got this, Gav. You're the governor. You've survived recall elections, tech billionaires, and Twitter trolls."
He talks about California. He's like, I'm very big on California, very bullish on California. California has all this industry. Hey, fucko, they're all thinking about moving. The only reason why they don't move is because it's too difficult to move. If it was like every business could instantly pull up roots and replace everything and have everything running in a week at the other place, they'd all
can handle Joe Rogan barely. Instead of delivering a smooth comeback, it landed more like a high school debate team captain trying to roast a UFC fighter. To be fair, Joe Rogan didn't exactly start this feud with gentle diplomacy. His version of constructive criticism usually sounds like a flamethrower dipped in protein powder. And Newsom, for all his political polish, isn't exactly a street brawler. He's more of an "I'll have my assistant issue a statement through the proper channels" kind of guy. But after Rogan's latest jab, Newsom's patience flew out the window faster than Californians moving to Texas. The governor's response wasn't just defensive, it was a full display of political gymnastics. He didn't simply disagree, he twisted Rogan's point into something about leadership, innovation, and California being the model for the future. It was like watching someone get roasted for driving a broken car and replying, "Actually, that's not a problem. It's just the car evolving." But the internet wasn't having it. Within hours, the clips went viral. Rogan fans were cheering like it was the pre-fight weigh-in, while Newsom supporters were frantically tweeting about context and nuance, as if that's ever saved anyone in a viral feud. It's 2025. Nuance is dead. People want memes, not manifestos.
Success that they're hanging their hat on is his social media campaign where he talks like Trump.
It's no longer the rule of law. It's increasingly the rule of done.
So he's got a bunch of people from his organization that tweet for him, and they tweet like Trump, and they're saying this has elevated him in the public's eye. That's terrifying.
You've seen it across the board. People are scared to death of this guy.
He's starting to learn the internet sensibility.
It's the appalling silence. It's the complicity. You're seeing the most successful, wealthiest people scared to death of this guy.
Which is heavily trolling, does very well. What he has is a terrible...
Speaking of memes, the creativity was next level. There were side-by-side pictures of Rogan holding a kettlebell and Newsom holding a latte. One caption read, "The battle between testosterone and Teslas." Another showed Newsom's hair under a spotlight with the text, "Weaponized shine levels detected." Somewhere in there, Elon Musk probably liked a post just to stir the pot. But what made this feud especially funny is that these two guys live in completely different worlds. Rogan's the type to eat elk meat, lift heavy, and question everything. Newsom's the type to sip green juice, call it policy, and book a wellness retreat for team bonding. Rogan hunts his dinner. Newsom calls his chef to make sure it's ethically sourced. It's a cosmic mismatch, like a bear arguing with a barista.
Things that he says when he gets confronted with it, we're the highest this and the highest that. Like, everybody's leaving.
You will have a president who will be running for a third term. Mark my word.
You have the highest unemployment. You have the highest homelessness.
Doesn't believe in free enterprise, crony capitalism. He is wrecking this country, wrecking the economy.
You killed Hollywood. Like, Hollywood doesn't exist anymore.
And yet, Newsom somehow convinced himself he could win this. The governor actually believed his polished, politician-style rebuttal could stand up to Rogan's gladiator-sized fan base. It's the same confidence that makes him think San Francisco is turning a corner every 6 months. As expected, the internet's reaction split the country in half. Rogan fans mocked the governor's response as tone-deaf, while Newsom's supporters praised him for standing up to misinformation, which is basically political code for "please stop bullying us." Meanwhile, Rogan didn't even need to reply. His fans handled that for him. Every subreddit, YouTube comment section, and podcast fan page turned into a makeshift rallying ground. They treated Newsom's statement like a piñata, taking turns smashing it until all that fell out were buzzwords about electric cars and tax credits. But the funniest part? Newsom probably thought he was scoring a win for the reasonable majority.
Which means it was preventable. You certainly prevent them from raging into the tragedy that they became.
Because that was a few months ago. People have short memories. They go, that tweet was fun. He did a post on X that was fun, and it doesn't matter that they let all the criminals out in California.
That was grotesque mismanagement. That could have been prevented. You can't prevent hurricanes, can't prevent floods, but you certainly can try and start reducing the moral hazard that we've allowed to explode, quite honestly.
He's bad. The people go so much further than him.
The dozens of people who've lost their lives, the hundreds of billions of dollars worth of property damage.
That's how bad the Democratic Party is right now.
That's the thing about polished politicians. They still believe reality can be shaped by press releases. Rogan, on the other hand, understands the internet is a jungle. You don't walk in there with bullet points. You show up with chaos, energy, and humor. And humor, unfortunately, isn't one of Gavin's strengths. His version of comedy is smiling through criticism and pretending he's above it all, which, in this case, only made things worse. Nothing frustrates the internet more than someone acting like they don't care when it's painfully obvious they do. You could practically see the crack in Newsom's composure during his response, the slight jaw twitch, the too-perfect grin. He was trying to keep his cool, but his body language was screaming. I can't believe I'm arguing with the world's biggest podcast host while managing a state that's literally and figuratively on fire. It didn't help that Rogan's fans immediately flooded social media with California versus Texas memes. There were side-by-side shots of Rogan in his rugged, no-frills gym and Newsom standing next to solar panels like he'd just signed a deal with Whole Foods. Texans posted photos of open land and freedom, while Californians shared images of traffic jams and $20 smoothies. It stopped being about politics and turned into a lifestyle war. Rogan represented escape, the get out of the chaos and move to Texas energy, while Newsom embodied the system, polished, controlled, and robotic in a way that sounds inspiring but feels hollow. Still, Gavin decided to double down.
So you can't ruin a city and then go on to ruin a state and say, guys, that was just practice. Once I get it as a president, I'm going to fix it.
Wake up, America. Wake up. You will not have a country if he rigs this election. It's a lawless president. Wake up, America. Wake up to what's going on.
But he's such a great politician. I mean,
no, he's
so smooth.
I think he's terrible. And he's a good artist.
Well, I think it's pretty sick and pathetic. Everything you know about Donald Trump's America, and that was top down, you know that for a fact. Everything you know about the authoritarian tendencies of the president.
He started tossing around references to innovation, technology, and California being the future, which is ironic, considering half the people building that future now live in Austin because they couldn't afford rent in San Francisco. Every time he talked about progress, the internet clapped back with clips of people stepping over tents on city sidewalks. But here's the kicker. Both men are strangely alike. That's what makes this feud so entertaining. It's not politics. It's performance art. It's masculinity in two versions, rugged realism versus designer optimism. And the internet, as usual, picked sides based on who made the better meme. What really sent the chaos into overdrive was when Newsom's allies started framing his response as brave. Brave, as in speaking truth to power, which is hilarious when you remember he's the one with the power. It's like watching a CEO pat himself on the back for courageously replying to a customer complaint email.